Today, we brought this list to Plushy Bell's Toybox Tournament Finals. That's right, the finals, which we need to acquire an invite for over playing the tournament over the past few weeks. We earned our invite multiple times this season by getting top 4, I believe, as well as, of course, winning last week's Toybox. And now we have this list, which we brought to the finals. Now, our finals run is not everything I hoped for, but I figured we could use this as a great learning opportunity for people wondering how to review their duels, to see where they went wrong, what went wrong, how to go better, and how to navigate complex board states. I know I'm not the only Master Duel player who sees my opponent comboing off and deciding the game is unwinnable. I think that that's one of the biggest habits you have to break, and playing in tournaments is a great way to do that. So today, we're going to take a look at the replays and see what we could have done better to win in the Toybox Finals. Let's go take a look. When trying to figure out what exactly to do, where the problems were, starting with the deck list is always a good idea. To say, is there problems with the list on a fundamental level that makes it so that we cannot play through the most common boards that we encounter? And the answer to that is, a little bit. Like, a little bit, yes. Are there different things we could have done here? So, one of the biggest problems with the list right now, Elf Notes in general, is they struggle to go second, which is why we're up on Super Poly. But Super Poly's targets here aren't incredible for this format. Partially because Barrier Statue means you can only summon Earth monsters. I'm talking specifically in Magnets. And so having no Earth targets for Super Poly means that you could get surprise jump scared by a Barrier Statue of the Earth, and suddenly your board breaker, your best board breaker, isn't there at all, in a deck that has no Earths to special summon either way. So that there was a thing that could have come up in our games against Magnets today. Though it did not, it absolutely could have, so we want to have an asterisk there. Another thing is, did we draw enough hand traps to starters? And the answer is, in this deck, kind of. So right now, I'm actually not super upset with the list. You'll notice we're on an abundance of one-ofs as crossout targets, which I think is alright in a format as wide as this one, right? When I think of the best decks, they're what? Cool Tune, Sky Striker, Radiant Typhoon, Magnets, VS K9, a little bit of Elf Note sprinkled in, a little bit of Yummy sprinkled in. Right? And those are like 7 decks, which all run very different non-engine, and which you want different things against. And so I don't think it's terrible to splash in a wide variety of options, and not just hope that you draw the right ones for the right matchup, but expect that the matchup will be, like, okay for you. Right? To expect that, like, Droplet, even in a matchup where it's not great, it can still make waves. Same with Talent, same with Nib, and so I'm not upset running these one-ups. The other thing to note with this list, that is a little bit silly, but what I wanted to make into account for, is that Theo Realize and Archmage Vandalism Assault both effectively do the same thing. They both search Medius. But if you draw both of them, now at least they're both still alive in case one gets interrupted, or you can add Medius with Assault, and then Theo Realize the second Medius to Grave, Medius Shuffle back Medius, and there you have Medius on the board without your normal summon. And if you didn't have a monster in hand, this counts as a monster. So all of that is definitely fine by me, theory-wise. I'm okay with this list as it is. It has all the problems that Elf Note normally has, but I'm a little... I don't hate this list. I didn't hate piloting it, and I think every game we played was winnable. By every game, I should say every set. And so I think that that is not a failing of the deck, but possibly the pilot. So let's go take a look at the games. Here we are in game 1. We're against Hakumo, you'll see here. The game, we lost the coin. And you'll see a couple misplays that I point out as we play through them. But I want to emphasize that this game was very, very winnable multiple times. And we'll track that right now. So, the game starts, stand by main. Our opponent sends 2 to grave to summon out Conduction Warrior Linear +- at rip. We hold our Fuelos until the last possible minute, which I think is good because it means that they can't change direction of plays. It does not matter, as you'll see, because they had an Ash Blossom in hand, so that was frustrating as well. But you're about to see here our first misplay. One of the best targets to hit against Magnets is this card right here, Gallant Granite. And so, Imperm, I'm seeing the Imperm, I'm seeing the Gallant Granite, I'm thinking, great. All we gotta do is wait for that card to activate, and then we'll Imperm it, and that'll be amazing. Now here's the thing though, we don't actually have to wait for it to activate. and waiting for it to activate here was a huge misplay, because as you'll see, they activate, we chain Imperm here, and they chain Super Poly in their hand. And if you're sitting there in the audience saying, well, how could you play around Super Poly? That's not engine. We don't know who's on it, who's not. The answer to that is they also have the Quick Play spell, which could fuse off with the Gallant Granite anyway, meaning that even if we don't think they're on Super Poly, they still have 3 cards in their deck, 3 Quick Plays that fuse it off to dodge. And so Imperming on its summon was 100% the right play, and we missed out on it. Nonetheless, they get to the Block Dragon, then they normal summon the Beta, they go into the IP Masquerena here, they Block Dragon, add 3 to hand. They did use their normal on the Beta, and so even though they added the Barrier Statue here, oh wait, no, they did add the Barrier Statue, and they could summon it. So they also Excavate here, they search for, we're seeing a second Magnet Bonding, they hit Magnet Warrior Sigma here, and they decide to banish their Barrier Statue in order to bring out the Block Dragon so that they can make Baron. This to me is a weird play, but I guess if they think they're in the mirror, which they have no reason to believe that they're not, getting rid of the statue is less safe than making Baron. And this also plays around Super Poly a little bit. I'm actually uncertain why they did that. Oh, it was to banish out with Delusion. Nonetheless, they set up this board, and here's the second thing that we have trouble with, right? We sit and draw for about 2 minutes before committing to the Super Poly, only because I'm not sure what discard we wanted, right? And I'm not sure if we wanted to special a monster out, hope they try to pop it, Super Poly away with it. I'm not sure if we wanted to... There was still a ton of plays here. Now sitting back and thinking about it, I don't actually think it mattered. I think that no matter what play we make, what our discard is, the turn plays out the same. I think Lucina is never the discard. Tinia might be because of how it interacts with the cards currently on field. We could be allowed to set the spell with Tinia, and then once the spell activates, they pop with Baron, and then we are left without the spell and without the Tinia, which, you know, could be a huge problem as well. And Archmage Vandalism Assault is just such a power card in a tournament. It's always eating the Omni, but nonetheless, I think we ultimately made the right choice here to discard Tinia. It was either Tinia or Vandalism. I actually think it was possibly Vandalism here, just to give more bodies to create more threat. Was definitely the right play. Nonetheless, we get rid of the Nat Beast, meaning our Assault can activate, and we have Mood Dragon to target and protect the Lucina. So basically, I say all I need is that Baron to be gone. Now, here's another play I'm not 100% sure about. We decide to go here to battle over the Masquerena, despite the fact that the Masquerena doesn't actually threaten much on our field. They can make SP Little Knight, but they can't target the Mood Dragon or whatever we're protecting with the Mood Dragon. It still definitely is correct to get rid of it for plays farther down the line, but if they didn't have the Magnet Bonding here, I don't know that I would have done this. Nonetheless, we beat over the Masquerena. Remain phase 2. We go into Medius the Pure here. They activate Baron de Flor to pop the Medius, which is acceptable. It's like totally fine. And now I say, okay, well, let's special summon out Lucina. The Magnet Bonding comes out here. We Mood Dragon to change Lucina, to change it to a fire, meaning our Lucina can't be targeted, which makes me think we're in like a nice spot here, because everything they could make targets, right? You can target one Earth monster, one card your opponent controls, right? So they summon back Beta. Beta contribute out, but they had to add, they get to summon. So I'm like, okay, I know it's going to be a lot to play through next turn, but ultimately I'm not that scared. We'll have to see. So I summon out the Regina. Regina summons out the Tinia. We decided to go for Tinia here instead of, no, not Tinia. We send Fortuna out instead of the Tinia, which I think is one of our best plays, because it allows us to threaten the trap hitting the field, which can then pin things later on. Not amazingly, but it still does let that happen. And so they probably do want to keep us off the trap in a way that they wouldn't really care about setting the spell, because this can bounce any card, right? So they activate the Flux here. Flux targets are Fortuna and that, which is great, because now we can Medius the Pure, shuffle back Regina to summon out Medius, send out the Fortuna. Fortuna sets, and here, chat, is the next problem. We only had 10 seconds left on clock at this point. If we had more time, we would have Rhapsodia'd, sent probably the Mood Dragon, summoned back the Tinia, Tinia for the spell send anything, summon out our Fire Guy, and then we can make our own Baron, start threatening plays, and go all the way in. Unfortunately for us, we ran out of time, so all we could do was make Chaos Angel and hope that they didn't have a way to out it. This is Chaos Angel plus 1 negate with Rhapsodia plus the Elf Note interruptions because we can send Mood Dragon. And summon out Sigma here. Now, this is another misplay. We should have put Mood Dragon in the center column zone, or neither of them in the center column, so that we could summon back Regina. Oh, wait, we don't have Regina engraved. I was going to say, so we could summon back Regina, but nonetheless, we didn't have a Regina engraved because we shuffled her back with Media, so never mind. This was fine. This was the only play. They normal summon Sigma. They go 2 here for Ausa so that they can use the graveyard effect of Magnet Warrior here. They summon out the Beta. They don't activate, but they fuse off with the Linear Warrior in hand for the Flux Ostenfeld, which we can pin with the Rhapsodia, and we decide to do that here. Now, I'm expecting them to have a Underworld Goddess. So I summon out this, and then I go, okay, well, they can already link off with everything, so let's Lucina here to bounce the only thing we can bounce. But they have one more body engrave anyway because of the recursion. There's the Underworld Goddess. All of our monsters are negated, and it pins our trap. Plus, they have the recursion of Telusion. So here comes the Lucina. We take 3k to the face. And I'm going, okay, well, what can we do here? I'm thinking that if we have a monster here, we can at least summon it out, go into Typhon, and maybe threaten some things. But the Underworld Goddess isn't checked by it, and the Telusion gets to recur before our Typhon gets to do anything to it. So ultimately, we don't have a play here. We decide to try and bounce the Underworld Goddess as a misplay from us. We just forgot that it needs to be targeted to be affected even while under this. And if we had put this back in hand, then we might have been able to keep the Block Dragon from being linked off. I don't think that that is a likely case, but it is ultimately possible, so we should have considered it. No, it's not possible because... No, it might have been possible. Nonetheless... I don't think it was because they would have still had this guy in grave, which could have popped the one in hand to summon back out, and that would have been a body in its own right. And here is lethal game 1. A shame here because I do think it was winnable multiple times over, and we just simply outright misplayed a couple fractions there. Even though our opponent did have a good hand, like nothing to our opponent didn't misplay per se. We just didn't have any way of playing through once our misplays accumulated to a certain mass. Nonetheless, let's see how we do game 2. So here we are in game 2. We have the coin here. We only have one play. I'm a little bit scared of our opponent interacting with the Lucina at all, but as you can see, they do not actually have a way to do that. So we are a little bit chill. Lucina adds Regina, and here's the Lucina 1 card in case you're interested. We'll speed through this just because there's no real decision making here. We go Lucina for the Power Patron plus Regina into Baron. We add a Regina first to play her on Droll. That's just a little bit of information tidbit there. We chain block the Power Patron with Regina, add Regina back to hand, add Power Patron here for a Tinia. Now we special out the Tinia to the main monster zone, activate to set the spell. Spell sends one dead card in hand in order to summon out Fortuna from deck. Fortuna sets the trap. The trap sends the other dead card in hand in order to summon back the Tuner. Tuner plus Tinia for Strelitzia. And we don't need to worry about occupying our main monster zone now because we've already summoned through everything that we need to summon. We summon back the Power Patron. We go 2 here for Herald and set an Imperm passing back on this field, which is pretty impressive. Our opponent here activates Analyzer. And we go, okay, that's fine. Not making the Super Poly mistake again, I do decide to Imperm before they have a chance to activate and possibly fuse off, learning from game 1. They summon out the Kwakimeru Guardian, and then they also summon out the Adamantipator Researcher. Right now, I'm activating to try and tease out this Guardian. I'm not very scared of it, and so I'm just trying to bait it out with interactions I don't care about. We'd much rather it go on this, that we can then, you know, maneuver through, around, Regina can come out, like that doesn't matter so much, than stop one of our Omni negates that need to resolve. Because the worst case scenario is Kwakimeru Guardian turns one of our Omnis into needing 2 Omnis to work, and that's just simply never going to work out. We go here, we activate Strelitzia here to bring back Lucina, with the intention of bouncing and also making these both level 1 so that they can no longer go into a what's his name? No longer go into a Gallant Granite. We get synchroed off into Mood Dragon, which I think is fair play, which means Lucina doesn't resolve, but now we can just Regina, sending our middle one in order to summon out a Tinia to take their last card in hand, and then there's nothing they can do that checks the remainder of our board. You see them go to battle here, trying to beat over the Herald, but they can't, because Tinia, because of the trap, which says while you control a monster in your center, main monster zone, your opponent's monster cannot attack except to attack that monster, meaning that our entire board's protected when they don't have anything over 2400. And it means that we can use our negate, any negate we want, effectively onto the Adamantipator Researcher. We go here to bring back the Strelitzia who can negate other things. We probably should have used Baron and Aura Herald here for Reason You're Back to Sea, because they go into Underworld Goddess of the Closed World here, and I'm thinking, oh god, how do I actually out this with everything on the field here? They get their triple attack back for the following turn, so it's not immediately one if we don't have a convincing out for it. We decide to try Rhapsodiaing here. I forget that they can negate, and I also forget that her negate of our field is permanent. So I go, oh geez, okay, well that's not exactly what you want to see. Nonetheless, we're able to send these two up for Chorozo, and then these two off into Jiraishin, which now beats over the Underworld Goddess. And now we can send an Imperm. So we have a negate for their whatever they draw, and we have Jiraishin to wipe the board if we need to. Ultimately, we also, the reason that this misplay on the Elf Note Rhapsodia hurts so much is that if we had another monster in hand to send, this would be a negate. But if we have to send our Jiraishin to summon back a Elf Note, it's not. Now, nonetheless, sorry, I'm lying to you, because we could have just brought back our own Strelitzia here, which would continue to make it a negate because we'd have a Synchro on field at resolution. But it was still a kick in the pants, given that, like, that was just one full interruption gone and a board wipe that we could maybe not use anymore. Nonetheless, they draw into Quakimeru Guardian. They pass back, deciding not to summon it, because what does it even do? We draw into Droll. Rhapsodia here is able to send the Droll. We bring back the Strelitzia, and our opponent scoops it up because we practically have lethal on board already. Which means it comes down, chat, to that all-important Game 3. And here we are, chat, with that all-important Game 3. I don't think, many identifiable misplays here. We'll check and see if there was a line to win going second. But you'll see why I feel that way right now. Given that their first action is normal summon Quakimeru Guardian, meaning if we try to Droll, they just tribute off the Guardian, and that's that. So that kind of sucks. We'll speed through their combo. There's not much I have to say about it, right? We go here. This is the Magnet combo, or one of them. The important thing about their line here that we need to be aware of is that they did play around Super Poly. So a really, really frustrating thing for us, given that we have the Super Poly, and 8 million different ways to get to Droll here, like times to Droll. But it just does not matter because their first normal summon was Quakimeru Guardian. Nonetheless, chat, I would really like it. This card, as a side tangent, this card needs to be banned. This card needs to go. This card needs to remove itself from the format and existence and the deck. Not that I'm salty or anything. Nonetheless, they bring Baron back. They summon back the Telusion. They pop this so that they are no longer super polyable. As we go back to us. So we draw for turn, and it is the Trap, which is bad and good. So it's good in that we can pitch it off Regina. Regina is no longer dead. It is bad in that it's the Trap and it's a brick. So what can you do? We go here, and now here's the question. How should we have sequenced this? The thing we decide to do is activate the Martlet Mage Vandalism Assault first, which I think is actively incorrect. I think there's a world where we should have started with a Medius the Pure normal summon. Not 100%, or perhaps starting with the Elf Note Regina, attempt to summon out. And that is because we want to stick the Medius. If we can stick Medius, the game becomes playable. Now, I'm seeing the Ash in hand. I'm realizing that it probably never mattered. Nonetheless, we go Archmage Vandalism, trying to bait out the Baron. We know it's never going to happen, though. Or perhaps even the Telusion. We go Medius again to beat over the IP, so they have fewer interruptions. But now we have Regina, and this is our last play. If we had any other play, if we had something we could summon to the normal summon to the main monster zone, this would have been a fine play. But because we just had nothing else, there's really nothing we can do here. We go Typhon. We're going to activate Typhon to try and bounce the Baron. It's just going to get mogged by the Telusion, and then the Telusion's also going to bounce. So this is just a really, really unfortunate sequence here. Our Super Poly was live the minute we summoned Medius, but I don't think that actually ever mattered, given that the Baron and the Ash was pinning it, so we couldn't actually use any of our effects to dodge. They special out the Researcher. We fired the Super Poly a little bit early here. And I'm not, and I was like, even while doing it, I'm like, this is a little bit early to be firing it off. But they swarm the body with so many boards. This was actually, ultimately, the right play was likely to wait until they entered battle phase. 100% legitimately. We're going to Sigma minus, fuse off into Flux Oceanfeld. Oceanfeld activates here. They're going to block Dragon. And here we go. There's the Barrier Statue of the Drought. There's the Kakimaru Guardian. They have already normaled, so I know they're not going to normal summon that out. We are able to hit them with the Droll now, but like, Cold Comfort, right? They already have lethal on board. Well, if they didn't, they do now. And here's the battle phase, and this is our exit from the Toybox Finals. Unfortunate, given that it's always tough to look back at a series where you could have won and been like, oh dang, I had so many ways into this, and I flubbed them multiple times. But you learn from your mistakes. And the two things that we have there is be more present kind of in the games, be actively considering when it is better to improve something that needs to activate on field and when it's better to hold. And the second thing we have there is play faster. Simply be more aware of the effects on the field, of the timer counting down, and have a clearer game plan into in considerations of what you want to do into enemy boards. Right? I just need more practice going second. I need more practice thinking quickly. And I need to be more confident in plays that I need to say, even if this is not the most optimal play, I will need the time to think later, and I can see myself having to think later, so let's make some moves. Right? That game one, I'm going to be kicking myself about all week, but we learn, we adapt, we get better, we go next. Thank you all so much for joining me on our journey. I hope you all enjoyed the commentary, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.